Well, hello there and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be talking about how to prepare your portfolio for basically any competitive specialty in the UK. So a little bit of background about me. I am currently a core anaesthetic trainee and I got into the August round. I have a few videos regarding that. And obviously this video is going to be catered for anaesthetics along with all the other specialities. Anesthesia used to have a scoring matrix before, just like core surgical training, but they revoked that during the COVID pandemic, but it's still a part of the interview process in the 15 minutes of portfolio station that you will have in your interview. I will be uploading a separate video regarding how to answer questions in the portfolio section, but before that I wanted to post this video where I talk about basically what you need to prepare for those portfolio 15 minutes and what are the things you require in your CV which will definitely set you apart from everybody else. So as I said, that this video is going to cater to all the competitive specialities because most of these specialities have the same kind of requirements regardless of whatever you're applying to. This is for specialities that are going beyond the MSRA scoring, and there are some who don't even take the MSRA exam and just go with your portfolio scores. So which are those specialities, if you might ask? I have a detailed video about what specialties do take the MSRA still and what are the ones which have included the MSRA. I'll link the video in the cards above so you can watch that video with regards to MSRA and how to prepare for it. But without rambling, I'll straight jump into what you need to do to get into a competitive specialty such as anesthesia. The first thing is first, you need to be a doctor. Obviously, in the self-assessment scoring, any of the documents that you will find in the Higher Education Commission, HEE, I'll be linking down those documents below. All of them have the first heading as a doctor, which you already are. Similarly, you should be having the fitness to practice, which again, you should be registered with GMC and you should be allowed to practice, which you again already are. You should have good English skills. The only reason I'm putting this in is because I know a lot of IMGs struggle with that. And when I'll be uploading my interview video, I will be guiding you guys on how to actually tackle that as an IMG if English is not your first language. But yes, for the interview process, for any application that you're going for a competitive specialty, you need to have good English skills. Okay, now that we've covered the basics, I'm going to be talking about what will set your CV apart. So there's a lot of debate about having a higher degree besides your current MBBS or MBBCHB, whatever fancy medical degree you have, with regards to diplomas, masters, PG certs, or at the end of the day, a PhD. Do I recommend you doing that in the 1 year that you're trying to appear for a core training process? No. If you are already enrolled in one, great, brilliant. But if you're applying for core training or your current F2 or you've just come to the country and you want to apply for training within 1 year, it is not an essential criteria for your CV to be set apart. Will it give you extra points? Yeah, of course, any degree would. But is it absolutely essential? No. Not necessarily. So what is essential? Now that I've rambled about a lot of things, you need to have QIs, you need to have audits, you need to have some form of research projects. When I talk about these, a lot of people become very overwhelmed because they feel like, oh my god, how many do I need to do? How do you do one? What do you get out of it? And so on and so forth. I'm going to break down how you can do these, how you can get the maximum benefit out of doing a QIP project. So if you're someone who wants to do just one project in 1 year, absolutely fine. Instead of an audit, do a QIP. And you might be thinking, what is the difference between the two? Well, an audit is a random selection of data which you compare with a strict guideline and you compare the standards and things like that. A QIP is a step ahead. So what it gives you is an improvement in an already running system in the hospital. So you will, at the end of your QIP project, create some big improvement which will create either patient safety or quality of service or all of them. It could even be a teaching QIP. So there are a lot of aspects which you can cover in a QIP. It does not need to be specifically to patient care. It could be like you create a teaching program and you teach medical students, or F1s or F2s, or even SHOs. It could be an exam course. It could be anything that you feel like has created an improvement within your department as such. For a core trainee post, you don't need to have a specific QIP, audit, or research projects. By specific, I mean, say for example, you want to apply for anesthesia, which is my specialty, so I'll speak through that. But for the core training part, you don't really need to have a QIP, which is anesthesia based. Yes, for ST4 applications in anesthesia, you will have to have specified QIPs and audits and everything, which are either anesthesia, ICM medicine, or pain. But for core training, you don't need that. So you just need a proper QIP. And my advice would be to lead it, at least run 3 cycles, and have a proper improvement data at the end of it. The benefit of doing that is, one, you have got good enough data to write an abstract. You can submit that abstract into a lot of conferences. AAGBI is one on the top of my head. State of Art is one. So there are so many conferences that you can submit your QIP data as an abstract in. They usually get accepted, and once they get accepted, you either get an oral presentation out of them, or you would get a poster presentation. So if you see all of the desirable criteria in all of these specialty training programs which are competitive, they all have, do you have a QIP? Yeah, you do now. Did you delete it? Yes, you did. Did you present it somewhere? Of course, I presented it. And finally, did it get published? And all of these conferences have journals that are PubMed indexed. So you get ahead of a lot of things by doing a proper QIP. That's why I'm saying don't just do snapshot audits, because I know a lot of people give that advice. A snapshot audit is good enough for an appraisal or an ARCP, but it's not good enough to actually improve your CV. To improve your CV, you should have a proper quality improvement project with actual results, which have data that you collected. And then finally, obviously, you write an abstract, you get it published, you get an oral or a poster presentation out of it. And there you go. A lot of aspects of your CV are covered by doing this just one quality improvement project. Then comes research. It's a separate thing, which I don't know why it's still there, because a lot of us in medical school or F1, F2, or even as IMGs did not get that much opportunity to do actual research. And now that I've actually been a part of one, I feel like the ethical part of it is so long that it is very difficult to actually do a research project which you are leading, unless you go and do a PhD or something. So then again, that is not something that you need in your portfolio. Yes, you can be a part of a research, such as become a sub-investigator. You can easily get that by recruiting participants for a research. If you're in a teaching hospital and you're doing a job there as an F1, F2 SHO, as I said before, then you can contact the research and development department and ask them whether they are doing any research projects in the moment, and they will let you know that they are. Usually they are. All hospitals are doing some form of research and development, and it is usually approved already by the Ethics Committee of England, Wales, or Scotland. And then you can become a sub-investigator by asking them to train you. Usually they have sort of like e-learning modules that you have to complete, and you're tested on it, and then afterwards you can recruit patients and become a sub-investigator. So that is one of the easiest things you can do to become a research savvy person. As I said, you don't really need to be the lead researcher. Most consultants are lead researchers, and the juniors are sub-investigators. Some of them might be lucky enough to write the results or to do the data analysis, but normally most of us within our age group and status and experience won't get the chance to actually do a research. But as I said, this is the best way to get into research, is by becoming a sub-investigator, and you can do that by contacting the research and development department of your hospital. As I said, every hospital has one department that does that, and mostly all hospitals are part of some national research being done in the UK. So it is very easy to be a part of it. Obviously, you have to do it in your own time. It is going to take a lot of effort. It requires a lot of training, and then you have to go around outside your clinical experience to be able to train to do these things. So this is a lot to take on. If you're not keen on doing that, then don't do it. But if you're really keen on doing it, if you want to learn how research is carried out or how you could be a part of one, then absolutely be a part of it. But I would not recommend doing it just for the sake of CV, because it is a lot of hard work and requires training and your own personal time. So if you don't want to do it, just know what research is. If they ask you in the interview, then you'll have an answer. Then comes teaching. This is something which is very close to my heart because I love teaching, and I've been a part of a lot of different kinds of projects, small scale, big scale, national scales, and I love teaching. It's like one of my biggest passions. That's why I have a YouTube channel about teaching people random stuff. But so yeah, teaching is an amazing thing. If you have that in your portfolio, it's going to set you apart. It's going to be an amazing thing in your portfolio. You'll feel good when you help other people. So yeah, teaching is something that I would definitely say you should have in your CV. I don't think that is something you should skip on. And I'm not talking about little tiny teachings which you can do with medical students. That is also something that you can do, by the way, and get feedback for that. But you know, like something important, something useful that you feel like it's going to create a change in someone's life is the kind of teaching you should be opting for. On the top of my head, a few ideas that I used to do when I was doing an SHO level job in another department, not my previous department and not my current training program, but another department, and for confidentiality reasons I can't share that. But I didn't have a lot of say when I was doing these things because I was a new person in the NHS. I didn't know much about the system, but because I loved teaching and medicine was something that I'm really strong at, especially ECGs and X-rays, I created this small course, sort of a workshop-y thing. What I did basically was every week I used to have an ECG with a case, and then I used to teach that ECG or that case to medical students and F1s and F2s. And obviously, because I was doing it each month, I used to do a small tidbits of one ECG each week. So by the end of the month, I had 4 sessions. Then I would take a combined feedback of basically the teaching. So I had like a session of teaching, and I was there for around 4 or 5 months. So I had a good amount of sessions that I did about this ECG, basically ECG, and I did some X-rays as well. And then I used to teach it as a course. So every month I would have new students, new medical students coming up. This is before pandemic. And you will have F1s and F2s, and everyone is eager to learn. This is the group that you should target, like medical students, F1 and F2s. They are like literally thirsty for knowledge. So they're the best people to target for anything that you want to teach. So whatever you're good at, you can create a course out of it, run a session each week, and basically get a good like a course workshop thing out of it. You can ask your department to give you a letter for recognition, or one of the consultants, or even your clinical supervisor. If you give them enough feedback, they would write an email stating that you did this course thing about ECGs or X-rays or whatever that you're good at, and you would get like a teaching course certification thing out of it. I think it's more of a interactive way of getting about teaching, rather than doing like a random teaching course. I know there are like teach to learn type of courses on the internet which will give you points, and if you talk about them in the interview, they will impress the people because obviously you went and you learned something, you paid for the course. But I feel like my courses and workshops that I've done so far with teaching have been very low level scaled in terms of effort for arranging them, but it's been high in reward because I'm still in touch with those F1s, F2s and medical students. Some of them are graduated now, and it's so rewarding to hear the feedback about how confident they are with your teaching skills and how much you help them. And then it goes to the next level, and then you can, as I said, you can do a teaching QIP out of it because you're doing it in a month's time. Each session you can collect data, and by the end of it you can ask whether they had improvement or not. It gives CPD points as well. It's continued medical education. So it's a lot of stuff you can get out of if you create a proper teaching program, and it could be about anything. You don't need to run it for ALS or APLS or something really fancy. As I said, you could go on a very low level topic which you think everybody would know, but trust me, when we become doctors and we graduate and we're learning and growing, this level of junior doctors are absolutely a delight to teach, and you would really feel very rewarded when you do that. So with regards to teaching in your CV, that is my advice. That is how you could create a very good portfolio. And when you talk about it in your interview, because you're so passionate about it, they will also ask follow-up questions. And that's what you want. You want to impress them. You want to set yourself apart. Say, for example, 10 people have done a teaching course. Everybody does teaching courses, but does that set them apart? No. That's money you paid and you got a degree out of it. Yes, it's nice to have in your CV, it may give you points, but if you've created something out of the thin air and you've actually created sort of like an improvement, it's a different level of speaking, it's a different level of sharing, and it will give you so much more confidence for your portfolio, for your interview, and even for your future skills. So yeah, that is how I would go about teaching. That would be my advice, but as I said, you could do courses as well if you want to. Alright, so those are the points that I wanted to share with you guys regarding your CV. There are a few other things that you would see in the self-assessment scoring, like leadership skills or presentations and publications and those kind of things, but I've already talked about them because in my opinion, if you do a project in a good way, you lead it, you publish it, and you present it in a national conference, a lot of the things in the portfolio gets ticked up. So you don't need to have multiple publications, you don't need to have multiple QIP projects, you don't have to have a lot of things just to, tick box exercise kind of thing. You basically need to plan something, execute it well, and then take it to the next level. That would be my biggest advice. So as I said, if you're doing a teaching project, make sure it's your idea and you lead it, then you write about it, then you publish it and present it. It's the same with a quality improvement project. If you find something that you can improve upon, then you do a QIP, you lead it, you write the abstract, you submit it in a conference, and then you present it. And because you're doing all of these things, you're already showing quality improvement, clinical governance, teaching, and leadership. So all of these things can very easily be achieved if you are planning things ahead and doing things the appropriate way and making them go the next level. I know it sounds a bit daunting, especially when a lot of people will talk to you and say, oh, this is just tick box exercise and just do a snapshot audit just for the sake of CV. But in my experience, what I've realized that every time I do a QIP project, it's a really amazing experience to have, honestly, because not only do you learn how to lead and manage things, but you also learn how a hospital works and what are the clinical governance guidelines for your hospital or trust. And once you go to a conference and you basically present what your efforts were, it gets a lot of appreciation and you get so much encouragement to keep going, keep learning, and keep improving lives of patients, and also, team working with your colleagues. So it's an amazing experience to go ahead with a quality improvement project or a teaching project or an audit and leading it, and interpersonal skills. Like, it's a lot. And I feel like if you do one each year, obviously for the sake of this video, you're only doing one to get into training, but if you do a good one each year, it will make you so much more confident as a clinician, and I definitely recommend doing it. So I hope that you guys like this video and this video helps you out in preparing for your CVs and portfolios. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.